Alright, today's lesson is over solving literal equations, and we'll talk about what that means in a minute, but make sure that you do get today's date, page number down, and the learning target added into your notes, and you add all of this stuff into your table of contents. So in some cases there's equations that involve more than one variable. So everything you've had so far has only had like one x in it or one y in it, and you're solving it. In this case, we're talking about a formula or something with two variables in it where you're just going to rewrite it. You're not going to get an answer like x equals 4 or y equals -2. So let's see what that looks like. So there's some cases where you have an equation that looks like this and you want something that would be more useful to you. For example, a lot of times we solve literal equations or rewrite equations is basically what we're doing, is when we need them in a more useful form. So one form that you've seen before is y equals mx plus b. And this is what you do when you graph a line, and we'll get to that here in a unit or so. But before we get there, we have to know how to rewrite these equations, because if I need it to look like this, then I need to know how to solve for y, or how to get y by itself. And right now it doesn't look like that. So that's what we're working on today, is just rewriting equations to get them in a more useful form for us. So you're going to follow the same steps like you normally would to solve an equation. So my first step would be, I need to get y by itself. So this is the variable that I'm going to box, because that's the one that I'm solving for. It tells me to solve for y. So in order to do that, I need to move everything away from it, just like before. So in order to move a 4x, I would need to subtract it, or take it away. So I'm going to move 4x to the other side. Now, 4x minus 4x goes to 0, which is what I wanted, and the only thing left over here is an 8y. Over here I have a -4x and a +16, and I can't combine them together because they're not like terms. So I'm going to rewrite them. I'm going to write the -4x and a +16 would make this +16. Okay, so all I did was just rewrite them next to each other because, again, they're not like terms. I cannot combine those together. So my next step, because y is not by itself yet, would be to divide by 8. I got to get this 8 off the y. So in order to do that, I need to divide everything by 8. Okay, so when I do that, I end up with, this goes to 1, so this is 1y, which is what I wanted. I wanted to know what 1y equals. And then I have -4 divided by 8, which reduces to -1/2. And it's okay to have fractions. 16 divided by 8 is 2, and it was positive. So my answer is y equals -1/2 x plus 2. Okay, so like I said, you're not going to get something like y equals 2 or x equals 1 or r equals 4. You're going to get another equation. It's just going to be rewritten in a more useful form. So let's look at example 2. This one wants me to solve for x. So I'm going to draw my line down the side, and I'm going to box the x this time because it wants me to get x by itself. Alright, so my first step would be to move this 4y to the other side of the equation to get it away from my 1/2 x. So I'm going to do that, and when I do, I end up with a 1/2 x only on this side, because that goes to 0. And on this side I have a -4y and a +6 that are not like terms. Alright, so since these are not like terms, I am going to just write them next to each other again. So this is a -4y and a +6. And that's all I can do over here so far. So now I've got to get rid of the 1/2 x, and this is where it's a little tricky. Just like before, something times x you would divide, but when you divide by a fraction, it's the exact same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So the same thing as dividing by 1/2 would technically be multiplying by 2. So I'm going to multiply everything here by 2, or 2 over 1, which is 2. So when I do that, this goes to 1. And that should make sense. 2 halves is a whole. So this ends up being just 1x. And then over here I have -4 times 2y. I'm sorry, -4y times 2, which is a -8y. and 6 times 2, which is positive 12. So here I am finished. This is the last part where I am solving for x. So x is by itself. Again, I'm not getting a number answer. I'm just rewriting the equation. Okay, so you're going to try it on one question here in a minute. Make sure that if for some reason the question doesn't pop up, that you rate the video so that we can tell that you watched it all the way till the end.